So they made such a fuss regarding this Chinese spy balloon that in doing so, they kind of made it obvious they were on damage control here and they were kind of covering up for something. As we're about to see here, as we revisit the story, the claims, look at the footage of this thing being shot down. And it becomes quite obvious here that something's up. Bear with me. Just quick glance here at the temperatures in Montana, seeing the temperatures all year round, and seeing that January, February is the coldest time of year for Montana, which of course would explain why this balloon has showed itself. When the temperatures drop, these balloons drop. When it warms up, the balloons get to higher altitudes. I think what's happened is the extreme cold has brought this balloon down so far, exposing it for the general public to see, and as a result we've had this Chinese spy balloon story sold to us here to cover up for, well, who knows what. Okay, I'm at space.com. US military shoots down Chinese surveillance balloon. An F-22 fighter jet took the balloon out with a Sidewinder missile on Saturday. Scrolling down. The uncrewed airship was over the Atlantic Ocean at the time, just off the coast of South Carolina. It was flying at an altitude of 60 to 65,000 feet, while the F-22 was at about 58,000 feet, the Department of Defense said. Okay? So let's look at the F-22 Raptor hitting this spy balloon, this supposed spy balloon, with a Sidewinder missile. And we're going to pause it there, and I'm going to highlight the obvious here. Don't you think that's a bit of a brutal way to treat your evidence here? If this is a Chinese spy satellite, wouldn't you want to retrieve this thing in all its entirety rather than blowing it up? Particularly given the fact you have the capabilities to retrieve this thing. Bear with me. Unbelievable. Someone's literally just changed the surface ceiling height on Wiki of the F-22 Raptor to cover up the very point I'm going to make. But it's okay. It's everywhere else online. Surface ceiling height for the F-22 Raptor is 65,000 feet. Okay? Let's go to Wiki now. And I'm going to highlight the fact that they've just changed the surface ceiling height on Wiki to try and cover up this silly charade I'm going to expose. So I come to the Wiki F-22 Raptor page. Like I said, look, updated 16 minutes ago. They've changed the surface ceiling height to try and cover up this Chinese spy balloon charade. Look, where is it now? Everywhere else the surface ceiling height is 65,000 feet, but they've changed it, and it was here as well. They've changed it to 50,000 feet on Wiki 16 minutes ago to try and cover up the fact that this plane could have flown the same height as the balloon, and rather than use a Sidewinder missile, could have used its cannon, just fired one round into the balloon, which would have slowly deflated the balloon, bringing it down a lot more gentler, rather than actually blowing it up with a Sidewinder missile. And they've changed the surface ceiling height here to try and cover up that. But everywhere else, as I've shown you, has it the surface ceiling height of 65,000 feet, which means that plane could have been flying the same height as the balloon, fired one round into the balloon, let it come down, keeping the evidence intact for one of the planes that the US Navy and CIA have used for years to retrieve satellite balloons. Look, they had the technology to snare these satellites on balloons years ago. Years ago. So why didn't they fire one round through that balloon? So it descended slowly. They could have hooked it with one of their planes, kept all the evidence intact, and thus backed their claims regarding this Chinese spy satellite. They couldn't. They had to blow it up to destroy the evidence. Someone had to change the Wikipedia plane about this service ceiling height of the F-22 Raptor, also to try and cover up this story. This story stinks. I suspect that was a satellite, either NASA's, US government, or maybe Starlink, that had dropped down too low. The Chinese spy satellite was the cover story, but actually it was something else, something even more damning than that. Which is why, rather than collect the evidence like anyone would do, they blew it up. Oh dear.